Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Women Expert Academy 2022. We are so excited to have you here. My name is Maria Luisa Voice, and I am Vice President of Global Public Affairs with UPS. And I'm very excited here to be joined with our colleagues who are going to be part of this amazing event and modules that we're going to have for the next 4 weeks. I'm excited that we, UPS, have a collaborative initiative with U.S. Commercial Services. And I want to say special thanks to my friend Jessica Gordon from U.S. Commercial Services, Janet, our friend Karen Parker, and Elise Erickson, and Marlon, who has been the brains behind working all this together. Jessica, thank you. I know we didn't plan on doing this, but we wanted both of us to welcome all of you to be part of this academy, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria Luisa.
Yeah, so thank you for being here. And today we're going to have a great topic that we're going to cover. I want to start though sharing a little bit of why UPS as a women exporter program where we have launched globally and we do here in the US and was part of the inspiration for us and US Commercial Services to work together. We understand how important women entrepreneurship is around the globe, and we have focused on doing 3 action items as it pertains to our women exporter program to help with capacity building and help enable and provide knowledge to entrepreneurs to be successful, to help have access to markets, because you can have the training, but you also need to sell and connect. And how do we do that? And be able to influence policies and regulations that will make your exporting and importing process easier and to be able to grow your business. And so today we have our first module. I'm very excited about the module. We are going to talk about what are the resources? What is that community that exists around us to help us as businesses? And we have great speakers today that are joining us, and I'm very proud. I'm going to ask my speakers to turn on their camera so we can welcome them and have them here. We have our first speaker is going to be Ms. Jessica Gordon, who's a director at U.S. Commercial Services, and she leads a team of industry-focused international trade to assist a small business, small and medium-sized enterprises in North Texas to grow their business through launching an export business or increasing their sales in target markets around the globe. That's very fancy, a lot of help, Jessica, on that part. And I know many of your colleagues around the country are today also joining us. So I want to welcome them. Thank you for your service to our country and helping support these businesses. Then we're also going to be joined by Louise Kern, who's the Manager Director of Global Business Information Services, Inc., Globis. That's how we call it. And Louise is an entrepreneur. You founded this business, and you help businesses to understand how to go global, right? And how to work on compliance, how to help and do due diligence where they're exporting and growing globally. So thank you, Louise, for being here today. We also are joined by the wonderful Jeremy Foreman, who is an export finance manager with the Office of International Trade at the Small Business Administration. And Jeremy also has Jeremy, can I say over 20 years of experience? I know we're dating ourselves here. We're not going to go all into the dates. And Jeremy helps something that I think, Jeremy, we're going to learn a lot, that the great information that SBA gives and supports on how to export and the finance support that the Small Business Administration gives. And before that, you had experience working in the private sector with Wells Fargo Bank. So you really get those topics that are great and very important for businesses, right? To manage their cash flow, to do the different areas that they have to cover. And last but not least, our wonderful Nicole Woods, who's the acting vice president for the Minority and Women-Owned Business Outreach of the Office of Small Business of Exim Bank. Nicole, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. You are a lead global business development specialist at the Exim Bank. and you provide U.S. businesses with competitive financing tools that help them mitigate risk and challenges. That sounds very fancy, Nicole, but I do want to tell to businesses that tools and the support that Exim Bank give are amazing. The insurance, how to help businesses when they're exporting, because sometimes that sounds that it can be scary to export, but that's where this community is here. So thank you to all my speakers. Welcome. We're very excited to have you here. But before we start, I know we prepared some polls because we wanted to make certain that we have the opportunity to get some information. So I'm going to ask the audience to please answer. I'm going to launch the poll and we're going to give you 5 seconds to answer. We're going to have 3 questions. And so I'm launching right now, and I will invite of our participants to please do work on the polls and let us know what you have. I'll give you 2 more seconds to answer. I'm gonna get to that. Okay, almost 50% of the participants have answered. Let's find out. Going beyond the borders. The first question is, what is your industry? So I'm gonna end the poll right now, and I'm gonna share the results. Very interesting, right? So we have food products, we have cosmetics, we have health and wellness and fitness. Very interesting responses in here. So let's go to our second poll. So our second question is, as an exporter, how would you describe yourself? Let us know. Are you totally new to all things exporting? Do you export 1 or 2 times a day? Do you not export, or do you export to multiple countries? Oh, this is awesome. I love the responses. I'm gonna end the poll. Let me see. I'll give you a little bit more time so we can have more participation. Perfect. So let's share the results. I love it. We have people that do not know, that are new to exporting. This is great. Some that export to multiple countries, some export services, or 1 or 2 times. That is wonderful, because I think the tools that we're going to give you through this academy are going to be very useful for all of you. And then our last question, which is very important, is what do you need to up your exporting game? This is an interesting one, right? Is it assistance, more information? What do you think is it that you need to up your exporting game? Okay, very interesting. Training for my staff. Love the information. I think this gives us very good tools for all of us. So I'm gonna give a little bit more time so we get over 60% response. So that's awesome. Check this out. That is wonderful. So now our speakers have the information they need to be successful and to be able to help us learn from all these participants. So I'm going to invite now to the podium, as I stop sharing here, our next speaker, which is going to be Ms. Jessica Gordon. And Jessica, the podium is yours.
Thank you so much, Maria Luisa. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And thank you for the opportunity to coordinate the Women Export Academy program, a collaborative initiative between the Commercial Service and UPS, and a program designed to assist women entrepreneurs with gaining access to the tools, resources, information, and networks to compete and win in the global marketplace. As Maria Luisa mentioned, we are delighted to launch the first session of the program today, and it's a 5-part series. Today's session is going to focus on going beyond borders to grow your business and highlight U.S. government international trade resources available to U.S. companies, and specifically opportunities for women-owned and women-led businesses. In today's session, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the U.S. Commercial Service, of U.S. exports, and I hope that you find this to be very informative and educational. So I always like to start off with really sharing a little bit about U.S. exports and why they're important. And so it's important to really understand how exporting can help a company to grow and to expand. And in 2021, US exports totaled $1.8 trillion. We know that US exports are critical and important to economic growth and job creation. The US has trade relations with more than 200 countries, territories, and regional associations around the globe. And I found an interesting fact. According to the US Census Bureau estimations in 2019, there are around 288,000 exporters in the US, in which 24.6% are manufacturers. Still, only 1% of US businesses exports. So the US has potential to do much more. When we think about the United States as lead export markets, we think about countries within the Western Hemisphere. The US's top export markets are neighboring countries, Canada and Mexico, much attributed to the US-Mexico-Canada agreement. Canada is the United States' #1 export market, with goods exports valued at $307 billion, followed by Mexico, China, Japan, and South Korea. And it's important to note that US companies export a vast array of products, ranging from general consumer goods to aircraft and even fighter jets. Some of our lead export categories include chemicals at $253 billion, computer and electronic products, followed by transportation equipment, which is a large category. It includes anything from motor vehicles, automobiles, light trucks and heavy duty trucks to even aircraft manufacturing and rolling stock manufacturing and ship and boat building and others. We export quite a bit of oil and gas and then machinery. So I'd like to talk now about the US Commercial Service and who we are and the type of support that we provide to US companies. So the US Commercial Service is the lead government agency that's dedicated to assisting US companies with exporting their products and services into foreign markets. We really focus our efforts and support US companies in 4 key pillars: export promotion, foreign direct investment into the United States, advocacy, and commercial diplomacy. And really our goal is to deliver customized solutions to ensure that US businesses are able to compete and win in the global marketplace. We're well positioned to assist companies as we work through a domestic network where we have offices in over 106 US cities, and a global network where we work through the commercial section of US embassies and consulates. So the map here shows you where we have international commercial service offices, where you see the red push pins, that's where we actually have a commercial service office, and the purple dots represent where we work through the US State Department and have State Department partner posts. I like to really mention that the backbone of our organization really is our commercial specialists and our international trade specialists. So I talked about our 4 pillars, but our trade specialists really guide companies in developing an export or international business development strategy. And we do that in a number of ways. We deliver support through various programs and services. So if you look here, you'll see this diagram represents how we assist companies. I always like to give an example when possible, because I think it really puts things in perspective. And so I want to, mention how we assisted a company, and we really assisted this company in various steps of the export process where they needed support. So we were contacted by a global manufacturer of AC and DC fans and accessories, and the company was proactively seeking alternative and new export markets, primarily in Europe, over the last couple of years, and was introduced to our global team, the advanced manufacturing team, where they participated in a webinar to learn about market opportunities in Europe, and specifically markets in Europe that were potentially able to accommodate the increased restrictions of COVID. They were counseled by one of our local trade specialists to narrow down a few markets they'd like to focus their efforts in, and decided on Austria, Belgium, and France. And they were able to take advantage of a service we offered called the Featured US Exporter Service. It's a specialized program that helps US companies to enhance their international marketing efforts through improved search engine optimization. And it allows a company to be listed in the Fuse directory on an International Commercial Service Office's website. So you're able to list your product or service, your website and offerings on the website. And I think what was very helpful to this company is that we were able to conduct an international market check, which is where our overseas team in a specific market will evaluate potential of a company's product or service and provide feedback on the economy, U.S. products receptivity in the market, local production versus imports, and other important information. So through the initial market check, the company decided that they wanted to focus on Austria, and they worked with our CS Austria team, who then conducted what we call an international partner search, where they did an in-depth evaluation of over 20 potential distributors, and they were able to introduce the U.S. company to distributors through a series of conference and video calls. And the results were the company was able to sign a distributor agreement with one of the companies. So that's a little bit about how we deliver, but really, as I mentioned, the goal is to help companies in any step of the export process. So here I'll talk a little bit about just some of our services and programs. And I noticed that during the poll, there's a large percentage of companies that are new to exporting. And I also noted that companies represent a wide range of sectors, from general consumer goods to cosmetics. And it sounds like one of the areas that companies are most interested in is market research. So I would like to point you to our international trade portal, trade.gov, where you can find a host of market research reports, country commercial guides, industry reports. And I think those are so important to help companies really decide where they'd like to focus their efforts. We also offer some customized market research reports, if that's helpful. And I think what is incredibly valuable is the type of matchmaking services that we provide, and really connecting companies to potential partners or agents or distributors or joint venture partners in country. So I'll talk just a little bit about some of our services, our matchmaking services. We offer the Gold Key matchmaking service. We also offer international partner search, which I referenced earlier. And I think what can be helpful, and we'll hear from one of our partners a little bit later, is really looking at how to conduct due diligence on potential partners. So we offer the international company profile. So I won't go into detail about that. You'll hear more about that in just a few. But I also want to mention that the commercial service, we work with a number of partners on the federal, state, and local level. And so you see some of the organizations that we work with. We have our partners today from SBA and Exim Bank. And we also work with other federal government agencies, as well as women business groups to assist companies. And so that ends my presentation. But at this time,
Thank you,
I'd like to turn it
Jessica.
back over to you, Maria Luisa.
Yes, Jessica, thank you. I love the information that you presented. And to some of you that I have asked, we will share the information and the links and the presentations. Jessica, I love the information and that sense of community of what you have available. And so now we're going to turn it over to Luis Kern, who's going to be our next speaker. And Luis, tell us the interesting results on the polls that we did, right? And I think it will be interesting to hear from your perspective as you put your presentation in presentation mode. How do you work and how do you help companies?
Thank you so much. And so much of what you two ladies have said so far just ties totally into this. Those polls were so valuable to see where everybody is. And I'm very happy to see that many of the people attending today are right where I want to get you, right at the beginning, because I like everybody to be able to do everything right from the get-go. That's the best time to start, to have your modus set up right from the start, so that you are finding out who you are doing business with before you go down a wrong path and before you waste time and money on a stinker. So let me just get right into what I'm talking about here, the essential export due diligence, tips for screening your foreign buyer, really what you need to know, what you absolutely must know about your foreign partners, how you get it, and warning signs that they may not be the right folks for you. So what should you ask for companies to provide you? You know, it's I've been in this industry for decades, but I have to say there are so many even very well-established companies who do not follow these ground rules. And if you don't, if something goes wrong, then you really feel the pain. You need to know the foreign company's full legal name. In most countries, that name will include the company type of the company, like Co Ltd for a Chinese company, or in the USA, we have Incs or Corps or LLC. You want to know the company name in the local language too. For example, if the country uses a different writing style, like Chinese characters or Arabic, you want the name in that language, because that is the official language of the company where that country is, of the country where that company is located. And so that company will have registered with their local language name, not with the English language name that they are using with you. As a matter of fact, the English language name that they're using with you may not even be their official English language name. Let's go back to China as an example. A Chinese company is required to have an official English language name if they engage in import-export business. That's because the import-export records will be in Roman letters with the English language name. And if a Chinese company does not tell the authorities what English language name they want to use, the authorities will assign a name, which is sometimes a transliteration. So we see tons of cases where we're looking at a Chinese company, and if the client provides us with the English language name, very frequently our reports will come back and say, well, you know what, that's not actually the official English language name of the company. It is it's a different iteration of it. And that's why you want the local language name, because there will only be one company in that jurisdiction with that Chinese language, Arabic language name. It is a unique identifier. What's also a unique identifier is their business registration number. There will only be one company in that jurisdiction with that registration number. Why do we want these unique identifiers? So we know exactly who you are talking to. Definitely helpful if something goes south, but you also want to know this for things to go well in the first place. You want to know their address, so where you can reach them. You want to know their contact numbers, again, to reach them. And a bonus point that I have here is ask the company to provide you a scan of their official company registration information. What that will have on it will be their full legal name, also in the local language, their business registration number. It will have their address. It may or may not have their contact numbers. It depends what country it is, but it has the vital information that you need to have, that you can see, well, wait, you know what, did they provide me the right information in the first place? And beware, we have seen forgeries of business registration documentation. And so sometimes they're so bad, you can see that they did the cut and paste with the paint program, but sometimes they're pretty well done. And I have actually had clients, when I've said, you know what, the document they provided you is a forgery, sometimes clients say, well, okay, but so what? I have to say, I'm going to tell you my standpoint on that is if they are not telling you the truth with their registration documentation, they're probably going to not tell you the truth about some other things that are way more important. So I would hands off on people like that, but you're the boss. It's your choice. So what else are we looking at here? How can you research companies yourself? Well, you can do a who is search of the website. If you don't know what the who is search is, it's the registration details of a website, and the following slide will show you how to do that. So what we're looking for when we look at the who is registration details of a company website is, was it registered less than 1 year ago? And for just 1 year? that's a huge warning sign of a scam. We've seen in so many cases that we've just put 2 and 2 together. Just so many scammers we've identified have registered the website less than 1 year ago and for just 1 year. Usually a website is established around the same time that a company is established. And usually if a company is a legitimate company, they will be more optimistic with how long their website will be around and will register for more than 1 year. Of course, there are exceptions, but for us, it's a huge red flag. Google the company name and see if there's anything out there besides just that company's website. Anybody writing about them, good or bad? We want to see something more about them to know that they really have had a longer presence out there. When Maria Luisa said that she's going to share these slides with you, and anything here with an underline is a hot link. You can see there that this is going to actually go to a site for you. So this next one where I put the try these links to go to, the first one, the gov.uk government publications one, is a list of overseas registries. These are official overseas company registries that you can find, and they are organized by region, like Africa, whatever. And not every country is in there. Not every country allows free access to their official company registration information, but you can check there because many do. Another thing that you can do is you can Google the country name and company search to see if you can find any official registry information. Why do I keep saying official registry information? It's because it tends to be far more accurate than the paid sites or the private company sites. The private company sites might not be updated on a regular basis. Sometimes it's very hard or not possible for you to see how current is the information. And there's really a much less chance that that information is as accurate as the official information will be. But one of the private sites that has tons of free information on companies around the world, and it doesn't have everything, but it's a great place to start or to look at or to use with your other searches, is this next one, opencorporates.com. It's fantastic. Put it in there. It can even help you if you don't know where the company is located, to just put in the name of the company and see where it comes up in the world. Again, it's not going to catch it doesn't have every company in there, but if it does have a company in there, generally the information is quite worthwhile. And important, this is a point. Most scammers we have uncovered are actually legally registered companies, albeit they've been around for less than 1 year. But just because a company is legally registered does not mean that they're not bad news. That I can't say that enough. Just because they're registered does not mean that you have any chance of getting your money back if their intention is to scam you. So another thing you can do is Google the company and contact person's name and scam, fraud, cheat. And please, this goes back to my other point. If you find negative information on them, beware. Their point is to cause some trouble for you. So please stop wasting any time on them and move to find another company who can help you better. If you want to read some stories about where folks have been ripped off, you can go to ripoffreport.com. You can check out a company there, put in their name and see if you can find them there. Also, Supplier Blacklist is another one where you can see if that company you're planning on doing business with was put on that list by somebody because they had a terrible interaction with them. So I said I was going to tell you about the Whois, just in case you don't know. One of the ones that I like to go to is called whoisdomaintools.com, but you can just put in Whois and search. And what you want to do is put in the website that you want to see the registration details about, and then you click search, and the domain tools site will come up like this. What we're highly focused on here is the date of the registration. So that site that I'm looking at is 233 days old. So that means it's less than 1 year old. It's registered for just 1 year. Ding, ding, ding. This is a huge warning sign that it's a scam. And here I've circled the name of the registration company they use for their website. We've just happened to see that a lot of scammers have used this company called Namecheap Inc. to register their website.
Luis, this is fascinating, right? And I love every detail that you're giving on the presentation, because I think we're going to have to invite you again for for another module to go into step by step. And for our audience that is listening in here, and I know I jump in here in what you're talking, as we're talking about going beyond the borders and going global. We heard first from Jessica about doing some homework, what countries, where do you want to focus? And now you're telling us that next step, right? About do your homework and know who you're doing business with, right? And where are you going to sell? I know we have 2 more slides. Maybe just to sum it up, Luis, in this part, what will be the most important words of wisdom you give to the businesses in terms of how to do their homework and know what they're doing?
So thanks, Maria Luisa. So I've tried to be explicit in the slides so that people can just look at it and follow up. But the last point on this slide is the one that I really want people to be aware of. It's really a fad right now. Imposters, people pretending to work for a real company. So if you do conduct due diligence on a company, the company may be awesome, but make sure that you're actually dealing with the person who really does work at that company. So be careful if they're using a Gmail or a Hotmail and not the extension of the company itself, the website extension of the company itself.
Luis, thank you so much. That is so important. And to all the participants, please do put Q&A, your questions in the box. We will answer, and we will share more information of that Luis has given us. Luis, thank you so much. This really makes a big difference for businesses, right? So they don't find themselves, like you said, in a bad situation. I'm going to invite Jeremy now to join us here. And while I share the screen, Jeremy, welcome to the podium. We're so excited to have you, and I love. So we have heard the journey, right, from Jessica to talk about where you're going and the partnership that you can find with U.S. Commercial Services, from Luis about do your homework and know who you're doing business with, and make certain that you don't have surprises. And now we come to you, my dear Jeremy, with the Small Business Administration. And what support do you give? The company has found a location, they're going to go, and now they go to you. Tell us about it. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Maria Luisa. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Foreman. I'm the Export Finance Manager with the SBA Office of International Trade. My market is Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, but we have several export finance managers across the country that sits in United States Export Assistance Centers called UZX, that can assist you if you're not in my market. So our programs are across the country. So please listen up. I got some valuable information that we can help with once you identify your customers and you have a purchase order in hand and you're ready to do business abroad. Now you would contact me for to help with provide capital. So I'm going to talk to you about some of our programs that we have and talk to you about some of the qualifications as well. And so before I get started, I want to just identify how the SBA defines a exporter. So an export transaction is the production and payment associated with the sale of goods or services to a foreign buyer. So before this, it was some gray area where we thought that the product would have to be here in the United States and leave from the United States to go to that foreign buyer, but that's not the case. So now, basically, if you're sourcing your product from another country and you have to ship it from that country to your end user, to your buyer, that's fine. That still qualifies as an export. as long as we have a foreign buyer in place. The other things is to qualify for our programs, the applicant must be located and primarily operated in the United States. So with that, you must be a U.S. business. Loan proceeds must be used exclusively for the domestic business, so for your business here. So if you have a business abroad, we cannot support that. But if you have a U.S. business, we can help with that to provide capital. Also, the U.S. business would have to be 51% owned by a U.S. citizen or have legal permanent resident status. So either or, but we would want to see at least 51% owned by a U.S. citizen. Also, I talked about the direct exporter, but I also want to identify the indirect exporter as well, because if you are an indirect exporter, you can qualify for our programs just as well as the direct exporter. And what I mean by indirect exporter is if you are a U.S. business here that's selling your product to another business here domestically, and they may be packaging your product or a service and selling it to a foreign buyer, then that can qualify as an indirect exporter as long as it's a one-off. All right, so they can't sell to a different sell to a different U.S. company. It has to be one step removed, and then it can qualify as an indirect exporter. So all the programs that I'm going to talk about today, if you're an indirect exporter, you can qualify as well. Another thing we look at is if, and this is determined by the XM country limitation schedule. So the forbidden countries that we cannot export to, or like Cuba, Iran, now Russia, those are countries that are prohibited. It's on the XM country limitation schedule. So we can't support those. And then if you're importing, we do not support importers. So our programs are not for importers, but you can use the regular 7A programs if you're needing assistance for, to bring in imports. And the two NAICS codes that we do not support is accommodation, which is the hospitality industry, and the gas stations. So everything else I'm going to talk about, if you're an exporter, our programs can probably help. All right, so basically within the Office of International Trade, we have three core programs that we offer. And keep in mind, I want to say that when I say that we offer, we are not the direct lender. The SBA is not the direct lender. We have lenders that participate in our programs that we provide a big 90% guarantee to allow for them to be able to lend the money to our U.S. small businesses. So the SBA does not lend directly. We have lenders that participate in our programs that does the lending. And so our first program that we're going to talk about today is our Export Working Capital program, which we call the EWCP. It's basically a line of credit that is extended to you that you can leverage either with your accounts receivables, or if you're if you received any contracts or purchase orders, you can leverage the Export Working Capital program as well. So how it works is it goes up to $5 million, and it supplies the lender with a 90% guarantee. So whatever loan amount they extend to you, we will guarantee that up to 90% of that total amount. So if something would happen with your business where you are unable to pay, the SBA would step in and make the lender whole with the remaining amount. But how the Export Working Capital program works is basically it can work asset-based, where you're leveraging your foreign receivables, where you can borrow up to 90% of the eligible foreign AR on your balance sheet, and also up to 75% of your inventory. So basically, this is going to allow you to be more aggressive and more competitive out there, where you don't have to wait for that capital to come in for your foreign buyer to pay you. You can still be aggressive with your business and go after more opportunities to grow your business out in the marketplace. We also can support it where it can be transaction based, as if you would receive a purchase order or a contract from a foreign buyer, you can borrow up to 100% of the cost on those purchase orders. So for example, let's say you had $1 million line available to you and you received a purchase order from a foreign buyer in China to supply them with some, I've seen a lot of businesses on here that were in the food industry. So you're providing them with some type of poultry or meat. And that cost on that purchase order was, you receive a $300,000 purchase order and your cost on there was $200,000. Then what you can do is you can take that purchase order to your lender that has extended you that line, and you can borrow that full $200,000 to fill that purchase order. And then what would happen is basically the lender would set up a controlled account with you. And then once your buyer pays you back, the money will go into that controlled account. The lender will takes out what's owed to them plus the interest, and then the rest will roll over into your operating account. And the process just continues to repeat itself from there. And you can do this simultaneously with multiple buyers, just as long as you don't exceed, of course, your line limit. So that's kind of how it will work on the transaction base. And these also can support standby letters of credit. So if you have a foreign buyer that's asking you to supply them with a performance guarantee or anything like that, Expo Working Capital Program can support that. Whereas if you were asked to do that and you did not have our product in hand, you would have to pay the full amount. So if you had to provide $100,000 performance guarantee, then it would cost you $100,000. Under the Expo Working Capital Program, if you want to provide that, then it would only cost you 25% cash collateral to supply that to your foreign buyer. So you can see how the Expo Working Capital Program can definitely help where you're not leveraging your own liquid funds. Basically, you're just using the Expo Working Capital Program to leverage that line and be able to be competitive out there. And so the collateral, the big thing with the Expo Working Capital Program is the collateral is limited to the Expo Working related assets. So these are self-liquidating loans. So the working process is basically sufficient collateral to support these loans, because as they get paid down, they reduce themselves. So special features of the Expo Working Capital Program, you would see that the business will have to be in business for at least 12 months or have proven experience in that industry. So the owners would have to have some proven experience in that industry if it's a startup business. So we do not turn away startup businesses, but we would want to see some type of experience in that particular industry. We do not have a U.S. content requirement. So we, like I said, we don't really monitor where the product was made. We just want to see that there is a foreign buyer in place, and they can support. And as long as it's not one of our prohibited NAICS codes, we can look at supporting that transaction with one of our programs. So the EWCP allows for a reasonable interest rate. So these are competitive, where our lenders do try to be competitive in the marketplace to win the business. So typically how the process will work is if you're an established business and you contact me and you're looking for some type of financial assistance, then basically you and I would have a talk. I would take a look at, just get a better understanding of where the company is, the financial state, how long you've been in business, and take a look at some of the financials before we make the introduction. Because once we make the introduction, we want everything ready to go. So we want the lenders to be ready and want your business to be ready to provide everything the lenders need to move forward if they're interested. So that's kind of how it works. You reach out to me first, and then once everything is correct and we see that the business is ready to move forward to get financing, we go ahead and make lender introductions. So that's kind of how it works. And we can move to the next slide. So some of the how the fees work for the Expo Working Capital Program. This program can go up to 36 months. So we previously we were doing it only on a 12-month basis and renew annually, but we extended it because some lenders and borrowers have great relationships with their lenders, and there's no need to renew this on an annual basis because they're familiar with the program. So we extended it where it can go up to 36 months. You'll see here the guarantee fee for each particular, so up to 12 months is 25 basis points is on the guarantee portion of the loan. From 12 to 24 months would be 0.525 basis points. And then from 12 to 20, from 24 to 36, it would be 80 basis points on the guaranteed portion. So those are the rates that the SBA would charge on to guarantee the loan. So you see it's very inexpensive, but those are the rates. And then so the lender would monitor on their rates to make it competitive as well. Okay, so our next program is our international trade loan. Again, this program is a term loan. It goes up to 90% as well, and it also can go up to $5 million. So this program is designed for U.S. exporters that are not specific, you don't have to be only exporting. So if you are at export, you do business domestically and you export as well, you can qualify. And so basically, if you needed it can support real estate up to 25 years. So if you needed a warehouse or an office building, you can use an international trade loan for that. If you needed to purchase machinery or equipment, you can use the international trade loan for that. If you needed to manufacture anything like that, you needed equipment, the international trade loan can support that. Or if you needed permanent working capital, so if you need to combine, like you needed to purchase a building and you also need equipment and also needed a little working capital, then we can use an international trade loan to do that. And also can refinance any debt that you have. So if you want to consolidate your debt and bring it under one loan, you can do that under the international trade loan. And it also can support business acquisitions. So if you're looking to expand your business, and if you or either the company that you're looking to acquire is exporting, then you can use an international trade loan to make that purchase. And so here's more detail about that for change of ownership, business acquisition. You have to be purchasing 100% of the business to be able to, so no partial company transfers, just you have to be purchasing 100% of the business and transferring all the assets. And so our next program is our Export Express loan. It goes up to $500,000 and it comes with a 90% guarantee for loan amounts up to $350,000 and 75% guarantee on above $350,000. So these are approved by the lenders that have the delegated authority to participate in this program. So this loan does not come back to the SBA. It can also, and how it works is basically, I see this one as pretty much as the hybrid because it can support real estate, machinery, and equipment. So it can be a term loan or it can be a line of credit where we're looking for working capital, supporting those purchase order financing, all those things. So the Export Express loan can do that and support that. We do not need a business plan on the Export Express loan. It's just an export questionnaire that you would have to fill out for this program. Here are some of the industries that you see that we mostly work with. We don't shy away from any, except for the forbidden ones, which is hospitality and gas stations. But you see manufacturing is a big one, retail trade is a big one, wholesaling is a big one. If you're in any of those industries, and whatever industry you're in, if you have proven financials and a purchase order or contract that you're negotiating, then we can probably help. And so, and I just talked about this one, 12 months, same thing, have to be in business at least 12 months or have the proven experience. And like I said, no business plans is needed to support this one. It's just an export questionnaire. And so to wrap up my presentation, some of the value proposition using our programs basically is the flexibility of it, how it's going to make your business more competitive, because you can do some things that maybe your competitors can't do. You can offer better terms. You don't have to require advance payment. You can push it 60 days, 90 days, however you want to do it. It can be supported under our Export Working Capital program. You can offer them, you can supply the standby letters of credit and the bid bonds where you're not using all of your cash collateral, all of your cash to make those purchases. You can only require 25%. And so and then you can separate your foreign receivables. So basically, you're just by having this export line in place, you're not affecting your domestic business and your borrowing base there. So our programs are designed for the U.S. exporter to help you be successful out there.
Jeremy, thank you so much. This is so much information and so important, right? All the different loans that are available and flexibility for the businesses. So definitely we are going to be sharing Jeremy's information with the group. And there's a question there that if you can go and type in the response, Jeremy, on the Q&A part, because I know we have the amazing Nicole joining us now. Jeremy, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for supporting the small businesses. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I'll put my information in the chat as well.
Great, thank you so much. And so, Nicole, welcome. Thank you for being with us. And Exim Bank, not a lot of small businesses listen or hear that the name Exim Bank, and you guys have great services for small businesses and the work that you do. I welcome you to the podium, and please take the stage. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Maria Luisa and Jessica. I appreciate you guys for having us, including XM in this program today. This morning, I will provide a quick brief overview of Export-Import Bank of the United States, which is XM for short. So you can go to the next slide. I like to first start off with a little bit of background of who we are. If you've never heard of us before, we are a U.S. federal government agency. We were established back in 1934. So this is around the Great Depression. And we were, put in place to help facilitate economic growth by assisting U.S. companies with financing their sale of goods and services to other countries, with an ultimate goal of job creation. So that mission continues today, because when exporters have tools from XM, from SBA and U.S. Commercial Service that can help them win new business overseas, help them fulfill these orders, expand operations, and be able to export confidently, knowing that they have these resources, knowing that their receivables are protected, knowing that their cash is flowing, they're more likely to be able to hire more and sustain their workforce. So around the same time that XM Bank was being created here in the US, other developed countries were implementing their own export credit agencies to do the same thing that we do for US companies. And today there are about, I'd say like 90 or so other countries that have export credit agencies, and they're there to equip their country's companies with similar support as we do. So that's why we're the official export credit agency for the United States. And knowing that the U.S. has an export credit agency, American exporters are able to compete on a global scale. They're able to have a level playing field to do business because they're coming to the table with similar products and services. So you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so at XM, we have an Office of Small Business, and its full focus is to assist U.S. small businesses with accessing XM financing and utilizing these tools. And, in my opinion, I would say this Office of Small Business is the heartbeat of XM Bank. And that's because on average, 80 to 90% of our portfolio is in support of small business transactions. And just a little bit of background, the team that I'm on is the Minority and Women-Owned Business Division. And that program has been around since the early 90s. It's a business development and an outreach program that was put in place to reach the underserved business community, to teach them about XM, to participate in events like this, to reach minorities, veterans, and women, so that we can equip them with the tools to be able to create and sustain jobs in their respective communities. And so we do that by participating in things like this. And next slide, please. Okay, so let's get into why we're really here. We want to figure out how can we grow our businesses? What is it that we need? And let's just talk about exactly what XM does from a financial standpoint for companies. One of the things is that we make the difference in a number of ways. One I've talked about is being able to level the playing field. Being able to have financing tools can make the difference. These type of financing tools can make all of the difference of whether or not you're able to acquire the working capital that you need to from a lender so that you can complete export orders, or the insurance that you need to protect against non-payment. So we do that by leveling the playing field, minimizing risk for you, the U.S. exporter, and then minimizing risk for the lender, and then also supplementing commercial financing. So yep, that's the slide I was looking for, the working capital loan guarantee. So this is very similar to what Jeremy was talking about with the export working capital loan guarantee offered by SBA. So I won't go into the deep details about this one, but if you do have a buyer overseas that you would like to export to, but you need that capital so you can fulfill orders, we can work with you and a U.S. lender, ideally one that has delegated authority with us. So similar to what Jeremy was mentioning about those, we're not doing the direct lending. We're working with lenders who are part of our program who are actually administering this loan, and we're guaranteeing. So when you have that type of guarantee in place, a 90% guarantee, that lender is going to be able to advance more. They're going to be able to want to take on these international receivables. So that 90% guarantee is repayment to the lender in the event that you, the exporter, aren't able to pay back. That line of credit can be used to purchase material, pay for equipment, pay for your suppliers, pay for your overhead costs, even labor, anything that would be needed to fulfill an export order, essentially, is what that working capital line of guarantee can be. Now, some of the key differences between SBA and XM's working capital loan guarantee is there's a cap on some of the loan sizes with SBA's working capital loan guarantee. And whereas with XM, there's typically no cap. Usually transactions over 10 million go to a board approval. However, there is that little bit flexibility when it comes to that cap amount. Another thing is that SBA will actually finance exports to a foreign military, whereas XM will not. So I'll go into the next financing tool since we talked about working capital loans. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, great. So our export credit insurance, this is our premier product. You know, if there's one thing that you can take away from this presentation, it's the export credit insurance. It's probably one of our most unique and mutually beneficial payment methods in trade finance for U.S. exporters to use with their foreign buyers. It's literally like having this enhanced insurance policy that does three really valuable things for you as an exporter. One, the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the payment protection. It's an insurance policy. It protects you against non-payment. So in the event that your foreign buyer can't pay you due to a commercial or political risk that's preventing them from paying you back after you provided them with the sale, then that's what it protects you from. You would come to XM Bank, you'd file a claim and say, hey, I didn't get paid, and we would cover 95% of that sales invoice. So in that way you'd be able to be whole again. So that's a huge benefit to having that export credit insurance. And oftentimes companies will come to us after that they've suffered a major loss and then want to sign up for the insurance. So now if this is your first time exporting, you're new to it, you know, ahead of the game, you've got something that you can bring to the table ahead of the game. And speaking of bringing things to the table, the second thing that's really great about this product is that it can be used as a sales tool. So when you're going on trade missions, or you're connecting with these companies that you've met through U.S. Commercial Service, or that you've met through Maria Luisa, you can go to the table and say, hey, I've got an export credit insurance policy, or I'm talking to XM about getting an export credit insurance policy, and I'm willing to offer you to do business with you on open account terms. So it's like doing business with a credit card, giving them net 30, 60, 90 days. And honestly, right now, I'm seeing it everywhere, just when you go to buy something online and they've got the afterpay applications, giving people that flexibility to pay back when they're able to. And the idea here is to create flexibility for your buyers. You're creating a situation where they're not in the negative. They're able to maintain a consistent cash flow. And I don't know about you, but I want to do the business with the person who's offering me that type of flexibility. And I'm going to be even more willing to do more business with them. So that's how you grow your business. That's how you win business and you lock that business in with those foreign buyers. So you're protecting your receivables, making sure you're getting paid, you're offering flexibility, making you competitive to your buyers. And then the last caveat to that is now that you have an insured account receivable. Now you have something new on your balance sheet. You have a new asset. You can use it as collateral to get cash flow. So as you're waiting to get paid, the idea is you can go and get that cash flow and you can continue to fulfill orders and sustain your business. I mean, 3 huge benefits with the export credit insurance. You can ask anybody, and I'm not trying to sell it, but it really is an amazing tool when you're exporting. Okay, so next slide, please. And you can go to the next slide. Essentially, I'm sorry, that last one is just the process. If you're interested in export credit insurance, whether you've already got a foreign buyer or you're thinking about tapping into this, speak to myself or one of our business development specialists. You'd sign up for it. You'd offer your buyer terms. You sell to them. They pay you back after that 30, 60, 90 days, whatever terms that you set with them. And in the event that they don't pay you, you say, hey, I need my money back. They don't give you your money. You come file a claim with XM. And ideally, we're here to make you whole, so that way that you can continue to do business and keep your business going. This quickly, just a quick little success story. One of our minority and women-owned business customers, Lomi Global Foods, this is owned by 2 women who migrated here from South America, and Paola and Andrea, and they've been using the export credit insurance for a couple of years now. They started their business in 2015. They learned about it at a trade show. So events like this, they had just heard about it, never used it before. And since then, since they signed up to use the export credit insurance, which they got because they wanted to expand into the Caribbean markets. They wanted to do it confidently. They hadn't worked with those buyers before. They heard about XM. So since then, they've been able to tap into South American markets, and they have been able to sustain their workforce and hire 2 new employees. So that's just kind of a really quick success story of somebody who's using us. 2 women migrated who are not even originally from the United States. They've created this, this profitable small business, and they've been able to expand into different territories confidently because they have export credit insurance, and they're able to confidently export.
Nicole, can I tell you?
Running out of time.
No. You were talking, and I want to say, when you say you sound so excited about the insurance, that is a huge product. You convinced me if I was a business owner. But I do want to tell you, from a UPS perspective, that tool that Exim Bank has is very much used by many of our customers. And I just want to add that from that perspective. Continue the presentation, but I wanted to tell the participants that this is something that not many people know, and it is makes such a difference when you're having your business. Please continue.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how valuable it is to really use export credit insurance. Some people are like, well, I'm not going to need it. Well, okay. It makes a huge difference. And I can talk about a little bit more in depth one-on-one with companies, depending on where you're at, whether you're a startup, whether you're experienced exporter. I think there's value in it for each stage that you're at. This slide really quickly, just to give you a sense that there's really no limit to the industries that we'll work with. But I do like to emphasize the services piece, because I think sometimes companies may not realize that because they provide a service, that they're not in the exporting game. So I always mention that when I present, because people are like, oh, really? I don't have a product. Well, if you're providing a service, so for example, like a freight forwarding service, you may never even leave the US, but you're being invoiced by, let's say, a buyer in Mexico to transport their goods and services around the US. They're paying you, you're providing a service to them, they're a foreign buyer. Technically, that's an export, and that's something that can benefit from some of these resources, not just that I'm talking about, but also my colleagues that are on the phone today. So really wanted to highlight that, no limit. Now there are a couple of restrictions, one being that we will not finance the sale of U.S. goods or services to foreign military. There are a couple of exceptions. So in the case of drug interdiction and humanitarian relief type of project, then that's something that we would consider on a case-by-case basis. The products do have to be shipped from the United States, and it has to be at least 51% US content, because at the end of the day, we're in the game to create and sustain jobs here in the US. So there's got to be some type of US content added into that. So last slide is my contact information. Like I said, we do have eligibility requirements to access these tools. I do want to set expectations. one being having a Dun & Bradstreet number, now having a UEI number. And if those are things you don't know about, you can reach out to me. We can talk about that, because those are actually numbers that you need to be able to tap into a lot of these government resources. We're looking for companies who have been in business for at least 2 to 3 years. So like my colleague Jeremy was mentioning, you know, having some type of skin in the game, some reasonable assurance of repayment, and then US content requirement is going to be huge. So again, depending on where you're at, no matter where you're at in your stage, whether you're new to exporting, you've done it a couple times, myself and my team will talk to you, connect you to the right resources, and help you navigate all of these resources. And again, thank you so much, Maria Luisa.
Nicole, thank you so much. We have questions. Yes, we went over time, but this is so important. We haven't lost our audience, actually. And we really appreciate that. Nicole, Jeremy, Luis, and Jessica, if you can turn on, all of you, the camera, so we can just very quickly, one more minute, we're going to do to summarize a little bit of what we have. And I think if Jeremy can turn on the camera, but just as a little focus, we're not going to be able to answer all the questions, but we will follow up and answer the questions and provide resources. One question was, does the Small Business Administration provide grants? And I think Jeremy added some of that, responded to that question. Or Nicole, to you, who is eligible to be a women or minority or women-owned business? How do you determine that part? Or Luis, how do you just more information about doing risk assessment? I think all of those areas are very important, but we went through a journey here where we started with Jessica telling us how to identify markets and what tools U.S. Commercial Services has available. Then Luis told us, as you're doing that, be aware and do your homework, that you have a risk assessment. And then Jeremy came in and said, now you have a loan. These are the options that you have from the Small Business Administration, or what to do, what loans can you apply for, and how does it work? And then the wonderful Nicole also came in and tell us insurance, remember that, insurance from Exim Bank, and be able to leverage the resources that are available. What we want with this academy is to be able to grow your business and go global. And there's something important to know right now, is that e-commerce is booming, is growing very fast, and that is opening opportunities to connect with other parts of the world. At UPS, we have seen those changes. We saw in 9 months of the pandemic changes in e-commerce that we were expecting to take 5 to 10 years. And that means opportunities, new customers that you can connect, but also changing and being able to use all the resources available. So I'm going to ask my speakers very quickly, just because we are way over time in my UPS logistics. We're going crazy right now because we're 10 minutes over time. But I do want to ask all of you one last thing. What is your word of wisdom and recommendation for those that are participating here in the Academy? And I'm going to start with Jessica.
Thank you so much, Maria Luisa. I hope that this has been valuable to all the participants. And if I could share just one nugget of advice, I would say do your research and leverage the resources available to you, whether it's working with the U.S. Commercial Service or SBA or Exim Bank, other organizations that provide support like UPS, our partner at GloBiz. So there are so many different resources available for small businesses to expand through exporting. And so I just really recommend companies to, take advantage of those resources. And if you don't know where to start, contact any of us.
Yeah.
I shared our international trade portal. That's trade.gov. So visit trade.gov. There is a wealth of information and resources there, but feel free to reach out to any of us. You'll have our contact information, and then we'll also be sharing our slides from today's presentation.
We'll be sending all of that. Luis, very quickly, any word of wisdom?
I echo all that Jessica said, but as far as due diligence is concerned, it's never too late to conduct the due diligence. The best time is right at the beginning. But if your company has been doing business with somebody for 30 years and they never did a formal check on the company, you should still take a look, have some outside eyes look at them, just to make sure that everybody's on the up and up, because sometimes things can go south.
Thank you, Luis. My dear Jeremy, from you.
Yes, so I'm going to echo what Jessica mentioned as well. I think it's very important just to use your resources. We are here to help. These are all government programs that can assist you, and you don't have to. If you don't know where to start, I would just say just contact one of us. We can point you in the right direction because we are on the line. But there's many other resources available to you, like the small business development centers, to help you with preparing your business plan, preparing all your financials, so that you can get this in order when it comes to me. So that, because I can tell you the big thing is what we're going to ask for is the last 3 years of financials if you've been in business that long, because that's what the lender is going to look for, and we require them to use their same general underwriting principles. So just make sure that you had all that in order when we talk.
Thank you, Jeremy. And last but not least, Nicole.
Yeah, I echo in what everybody else said. And then I think just the biggest thing is a lot of times the companies that I connect with it's always that access to capital piece. And just echoing what Jeremy said, it's coming prepared, knowing what you need to bring to the table, and really leveraging us to make sure you can access these things, and getting creative, thinking about joint ventures, thinking about investments if you're not able to get access through traditional lending. So working with us to make sure that you're not missing out on opportunities because maybe one door closed. So my biggest advice is to connect with us and don't stop trying.
I love it. Thank you so much to all of you for the wisdom and the information that you have shared. Do your homework, be prepared, know the community that is around you. Next week, we have a great topic. I'm a trade nerd and a customs nerd, so that's why I call it a great topic. We're going to talk about tariffs, regulations, Incoterms, and more, which is very important for you to have aware on that export opportunity. So we welcome you in 1 week at 10 a.m. Thank you to everybody. May the force be with everyone. I'm a Star Wars fan, so take care and we will be connected. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.